It feels like the things that we love the most have a special way of annoying the crap out of us and getting under our skin like nothing else. Whether that's a cute but very barky dog, or it's our favorite sport, finding a special way to sabotage itself the entire playoffs and just be buried in obscurity, like I said before. So without going into it too quickly, I just want to say thanks for watching so far. Thanks everyone who's watched the channel. I would like you to subscribe and follow along, and also tell me what gets under your skin. Maybe something that's specific to your team, something that's derailed your team's success in the past, or just something that's always kind of bothered you in hockey. I'd love to know, because I talk a lot, but I also like to listen, believe it or not. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's see what Gary Bettman fuels that gets under my skin, that just irks me. So the number one thing that I could think of is law and order, rules and regulations. The player safety department this year just took a break in the playoffs. People were getting hit in the head, and it was fair game. I'm sorry, Tomas Hertl, another injury that hurts the Sharks in the playoffs. It just happens a lot. And before you come at me, I know the Sharks did benefit in the playoffs this year. I know that maybe they shouldn't have gotten past Vegas because it shouldn't have been a 5-minute penalty. I know that maybe Landeskog wasn't that offside, so it shouldn't have been an offside against Colorado. And I know they scored a goal on a hand pass. But still, what are the Sharks supposed to do? You get the penalty, you score the goals. You see an offside, you call a challenge. It's just some really tough things that irk fans, and now, of course, the league right away wants to go into damage control and change some things over the summer, but I just think it could have been earlier, and still I'm not completely satisfied with the things they did, because there still are, so much room for variation. Is a general manager going to build a team for the 82-game regular season where speed and quickness is paramount? Or are you going to get a big and heavy team like the Blues and the Bruins, because in the playoffs, it's a total bloodbath where, the refs swallow their whistle? It's got to be one or the other, and maybe the league should let the teams know that there will be an official change of the rules when the playoff comes around, that it has to be more severe. But until that's there, it's just kind of BS that you don't know what's going to get called. Something looks like a penalty, but they don't call it because it's the postseason. These moments of huge controversy that just overshadow the game, you got to eliminate them completely. The fact that the Sharks, had an exciting Game 7 and it didn't even matter the next day because everyone was talking about the penalty, it's just a bummer. And I know Vegas fans have no sympathy for me because they felt like their team should have kept playing, but who wants this sport to have that much controversy almost on a nightly basis? Because it happened in Boston, with the puck coming off the meshing. Should have been out of play, it should have been whistle dead, it falls into play, and then someone hits it in. It just shouldn't happen. And these things, we got to be more consistent with it in hockey so people know what to expect, so the general managers know what to expect, so people aren't just guessing at the rules when it gets to, the most important games of the season. And that's just something we gotta do as a hockey, community, as a hockey, whatever you want to call it. Just get it right, get it straight, be consistent, so people know what they're watching and they know what to expect. Another thing that I just can't stop thinking about once the playoffs ended was, why is the NHL trying to go head-to-head with the NBA Finals every year? I was doing some research. In the last 3 seasons, the NBA championship was awarded the day after the Stanley Cup was lifted. So the hockey world is having, a really big moment. But in the sports world, it's all about basketball. No matter what, it's gonna happen. My solution, and believe it or not, I'm gonna come out here with some solutions and not just, complaining like I'm so good at. Move the season back. Instead of starting in October, maybe start it in the middle or the beginning of September. Maybe make the season from 82 games to something like 72, 76. I know the teams would play each other a little bit less, but it's for, competitive balance and making sure that your league doesn't have to go head-to-head with one of the biggest entertainment, events in sports. Even though hockey gets killed by things like The Bachelor, it would help if hockey had, its own space to, celebrate its championship. My real solution would be basketball moves their season, deeper into the summer, because people would like to watch that for even longer. But basketball is not going to do hockey any favors, I promise you that. So the NHL needs to be proactive and move their season back. So maybe the Stanley Cup isn't awarded, in the beginning of June. It happens sometime in May, because there is such thing as sports fatigue. Even the biggest sports fans have other things going on, and if you're following one playoff in the spring, it's probably not going to be hockey. It's just not going to happen. So let's try to move it. Let's see what that does. I think it would do a lot. There would be one summer that, it's a really short summer and everyone would hate it. Maybe make the preseason a little shorter. It's just an opportunity to show off your prospects anyway. I think it is a real key solution if you want to do it right. And before I get into the last thing that I wanted to talk about, I have a couple of honorable mentions, some things that maybe don't deserve its own segment, but maybe it might be cool to think about some changes. Maybe let's allow the hand pass. Let's allow the kick puck in the net. And whoa, I know it sounds completely revolutionary, but it kind of doesn't make sense that a player can catch the puck with his skate, but they can't kick it into the net. It's kind of a tough line to draw, and maybe it's a safety issue with the blade, but I think it would just increase skill and just let these players show off, what they have, because, they're playing soccer in the hallways pre-game. It would be cool to see these hockey players show off some of their, foot skill, hand-eye, hand-foot, whatever you want to call it. Another thing, I think they should totally change how they think about, the power play percentage, 1 out of 20 or whatever. I think it should be a ratio out of 2 minutes, because the standard minor penalty is 2 minutes, and sometimes a player comes out of the box and someone has an abbreviated power play, so that becomes 1 for 0, even though a team, or 0 for 1 because the team didn't score but they only had 30 seconds. That's just kind of a small thing. I hate the playoff format. I don't like the divisions, not just because the Sharks have to play Vegas almost every year, and I hate that too, but it just would be cool to see 1 through 8 again, so teams aren't upset. And like Steven Stamkos, I agreed with him. You play all year. The top seed wants to play the 8th seed, and I know Tampa Bay did that and still lost. It doesn't matter. And in the West, it was almost identical. But I just think it should be consistent that way. Like, we know some divisions might get stronger than the other, and then we'll see kind of the same thing over and over, like Boston and Toronto. It's just tough for the Maple Leafs to have to play Boston every year. And I know, just get good, maybe something like that. But it just doesn't make sense to have that same, 2 versus 3, even though you might be some of the top teams in the entire league. So the last thing I'm going to talk about is the league avoids logic like the plague. I am sorry to say it, but some of these marketing decisions, some of the games that they decide to be nationally covered and nationally broadcasted, I hate it. I just hate how we're going to see so much Tampa Bay, I'm sorry, not Tampa Bay, so much Pittsburgh, so much Chicago, so much New York, and some of the same teams just get that airtime all the time, even Buffalo, because I know they have such a, a big market and a big fan base. But I think the NHL should try to highlight some of your young superstars and some of your up-and-coming teams, because as a hockey fan personally, I'd rather see good hockey than just see the biggest market on display, because I know what Chicago looks like, I know what the Rangers look like, but we don't see a lot of teams in the West. Calgary was the #1 team in the regular season in the Western Conference, and their games aren't on TV too much, and I know that's the Canadian market, but the Canadian teams have some good teams, and the U.S. should just bring them to the NBC broadcast, put them on national TV, and let the fans, decide what they want to watch. And another thing, that NBC broadcast, it's got to go. It could be better. Keith Jones, I'm just not a fan. Just some of the analysts on there, it's a little dated. It's not as current. They're talking about punching and grit and stuff like that, and I get it. That is what hockey was about for a long time, but we could use some of the younger blood in there, some of the former players. I really like Patrick Sharp on there, but I mean, to be honest, I have NHL.tv anyway, so I'm watching a lot of local broadcasts, but I think the national broadcast could do a lot of work and put more games on NBC and not put on an NBCSN. In my neck of the woods, it's channel 314 on cable. That's just too high. Most people don't have a cable package that's that intense, like just ESPN. Hopefully they get that deal in a couple years. It would go a long way, but those are some things that I think that hockey could do to improve. Some things that just get under my skin. Like I said, they irk me. I can't stand them sometimes, but like I said, the things that we love just find a way to just piss us off. So, thanks for watching.